Saturday's fire at Cherry Hill totally demolished 2 buildings and damaged 2 others, leaving many questioning the response of the fire department. Concerns ranged from the use of fire hydrants to the availability of fire tenders to respond to emergencies.
There's a concern that I wanted to raise as it relates to the Cherry Hill fire. I would have seen a lot of bashing of the fire department on social media, and one of it was that of the other appliance attached to the station. And persons were saying that there is a fire and we have an appliance in parade for the visit of the prince and so forth. Now, the reality of it is that at present, one of the appliances at the Maurice Bishop International Airport is unserviceable. So whenever we have major flights, that appliance would be sent to the airport. And at that point in time, the appliance was down at the airport on standby, because if that appliance is not there, the flight wouldn't be able to land. But I think that as it relates to the fire, we did what we could have done. And as it relates to the extent of the fire, because of the electricity, that is why we saw the fire spread into the other property.
Officer in charge of the operations on that day, Sergeant Adrian Panchu. He says one of the first challenges they encountered on reaching the scene was that both structures on fire still had electricity in them, which could have been life-threatening to firemen applying water. He explains that different fires may require different methods of extinguishing.
Most people think that when the firemen get on scene, immediately it's just to start throwing water. However, we have to ensure that the area is safe. So I made an assessment and I realized that there was still electricity in both properties. So at the end of the day, what we are trying to actually accomplish is getting the water to the point where the fire is. However, at the point when the water hits the building or the fire, it is not in contact with the branch. And in that case, electricity wouldn't run down the water and it actually electrocute one of my fire personnel. So though we got into action, there was still electricity in the building. We put ourselves at risk and ensured that we contained the fire. And it was only after we would have utilized the first load of water that the personnel from Grenada came and took the power out. So to put out an electrical fire, in most instances, you would need either an ABC extinguisher or a carbon dioxide extinguisher. We do not carry carbon dioxide or the ABC, which is dry powder, on the appliance. So in such an instant, the main target would be to get rid of the electricity. So that is why when we get on most scenes, we would have to wait until electricity is out before we can actually get into full action. And that is one of the challenges that we faced up at that scene at Cherry Hill.
Okay. Sergeant Panchu explained that fire hydrants used to access water are based on the availability of supply. In this case, he says, the hydrants closest to the National Stadium guaranteed a greater supply in a shorter time span. The officer admonishes people to practice safety at all times, ensuring electrical appliances are plugged off when leaving their homes, as well as adhering to the no-burn policy now in effect.
All right, so we want to ask persons, we know that we're in the dry season and it's quite windy. So most of the time you set a fire, it might get out of control. And if you do not actually adhere to what is being said by the law, we would ensure that we go the full course of the law. And what we have seen happen is that most people, when they do set a fire, they leave it unattended.
Structural fires for the past week remain under investigation, the fire official says. Christelina John, GBN News.